We need to go ask Mama a question. You finding any berries?
I was eating
I
product.
caught you eating them. So I was thinking, what we need to explain why we're changing our labeling a little bit on our products.
Oh, you mean from organically grown to ecologically grown?
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, we had a little issue, not an issue, we had a discussion with VDAX yesterday. So we've been putting on our label organically grown berries. Like when we're using blackberries, we say organically grown blackberries, and technically we're accurate in using that, because if we have less than $5,000 worth of gross income with our farm, you are allowed to use organically grown. It doesn't necessarily mean you're certified, but you're exempt from having to get the certification, and you can still use the words organically grown. But we're not going to stay that way. So we're leveling up. So hopefully we're going to get a lot more than $5,000 worth of gross income. Yeah, so that's the plan. So we had to think of like, okay, so what is it that we're really doing that people, to really kind of come up with one word that explains what it is that we're doing here. And there's a term known as ecological farming, or ecologically grown, and that actually is 100% what we are doing. And what that is basically, to just to make it real short and sweet, is beyond organic. Is basically taking the environment into account when you're planting and creating a farm, which is exactly what we've done. As you can see here, we've got monster blackberry bush. This is not done in a way that's the most productive way for growing blackberries. You definitely don't get the best blackberries this way, but it does encourage a lot of habitat, and it's great. But let me show you a prime example of why I think Forever Foods Farm is an ecological farm. So this section here is a perfect example. We have these hazelnuts. They're coming in all nicely. But let's take a look at this area here. I guess we need to come around this side. Let's come around this side. So when you look at this area, it's very hard to tell. Our farm is an elderberry farm. When you look at this, it's really hard to tell that we're an elderberry farm, because when you think farm, you think rows. You're going to think of rows of elderberry, and that's not what Forever Farms does. We actually do ecological farming. Here is our elderberry. One of them, anyway, one of many. This one came from Edible Landscaping. It's a native kind, and it's got some nice berries on it right now. And when you take a look at this, this is the only elderberry that's in this whole section here. And there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. We've increased our diversity, which is increasing our ecology, the relationships to each other. So we have a cherry tree here. We've got an apple tree here. We have hibiscus growing. We got redbud over there. We've got lespedeza. So there's a tremendous amount going on in this small section. And there's a reason behind it all. I know it looks chaotic, and it's what I like to call a food forest, but the whole reason is like we got this lespedeza here. This is a small shrub. It's a nitrogen fixing shrub. It's in between my trees. And what it's doing is it's going to be feeding the nitrogen to the trees. We cut this back in the spring, and then it grows to this. And next spring we'll cut it back, and the roots will break down, and it's going to feed the trees. When you come inside, so we also have, notice, it's not pretty, but we got Creepin' Charlie. That's a ground cover. We also come in and we mulch inside here, we mulch all the area in the spring. And as that breaks down, we're actually increasing the soil. We're feeding, the microbiome underneath. When you come through, we have another layer. We have the herbaceous layer. And here we've got comfrey, which we can come in, take this comfrey, and just sort of rip it apart and feed it to the plants. Right, and then you come up a hill, which kind of has like wildflowers, because we also have bees. We increase the diversity of the plants, we increase the health of our bees. So underneath of here, we have a swale, which is this ditch. There's a ditch down here, and this is a swale. And this is what we call hugelkultur. And underneath of here is a whole bunch of logs and sticks that are piled up, and then they're covered with dirt. And then we planted it out with wildflowers. So as the water comes in and feeds into here, it goes underneath as it holds. So we're retaining our water. We're not letting it just erode off our land. It comes up underneath of this this hugelkultur, soaks in, and as it breaks down over the years, and this one's, I don't even know how old this one is. This one's probably about 6 or 7 years old. It then becomes a sponge, holds the water in place, and now all the trees that are on the other side here, or actually in this whole entire area, the roots are reaching into this hugelkultur, and they can feed themselves water during a drought time. We do not water. We have no irrigation. So again, ecological farming. We're using these permaculture techniques to try to keep going. And then you've got the bigger trees and the bigger shrubs, and it's so difficult to do that balance where you're increasing the diversity and the ecology and increasing your organisms and the relationships and creating a balance while still farming. Because, you know, everybody goes, oh, do you cover your stuff because the birds are going to eat the stuff? And it's like, no, I want the birds. So you create all this habitat for the birds, because the birds are going to come in and they're going to feed on the insects that are causing damage to our crops. So it becomes a balance. Yes, we do lose stuff, but it does, it works out. And here we've got our stinging nettle. So we have all our different layers. I mean, there's a green snake that lives inside the gooseberry bush, and the gooseberries have done great this year, and there are like a lot of insects that are inside there, and I know that green snake is sitting there eating all our little stink bugs and stuff that are hanging out inside there, which is great.
So ecologically is going to be far above organic.
Yeah, so ecologically grown is beyond organic. So we're going to change our labels from where we talk about saying organically grown, which I think everybody's very familiar with, organically grown. But when you say ecologically grown, who knows what that is? And it is a term. It's actually really common in Europe. But it's basically taking the ecosystem into account when you create a farm system.
Because we're not using chemicals, we're not spraying, we're not adding supplements, fertilizers, we're just taking the losses.
We're not even irrigating.
We're not even irrigating.
You know,
it's the cleanest farming.
Yeah, I mean, we're reducing soil erosion, we're doing windbreaks, we're doing water retention, you know, it's all, we're just trying to work it all out in a very natural way. So that was, yeah, I just kind of verbal vomited, didn't I?
It was good, though. I think it's a good explanation.
Yeah, but I've been racking my brain, man, for a while now, and asking people. So I know a lot of people don't know what ecological farming is and what it means and what it stands for. So now Forever Foods Farm is just we're gonna take it, we're gonna run with it, and that's gonna become now a talking point for our farm. And we're just gonna push it and just say it's beyond organic.
Awesome.
Yes. Bye, guys. Thanks.